In this video, we're going to discuss what the quiet period is and, most importantly, how you can use it to your advantage to actually earn a scholarship during this period when most people think they have to sit back and do nothing.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £5,700 myself to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I, I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
And joining me today is our head football coach here at Next Play, Brian Overton, who has over 15 years of Division I recruiting experience. So, Brian, let's jump right into the quiet period and really just get our audience to really just understand what it is, right? What exactly is quiet period when you were at Arkansas or East Carolina or FIU, just from the coach's perspective, from the school's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff out there on X and on social media is all about from the player's view. But let's talk about what is quiet period from a director of recruiting or from a head coach's perspective.
Yeah. So the two biggest periods that you hear talked about, obviously, are the dead period and the quiet period. And I'll use both of them. We're talking specifically about the quiet period here, but I want you to understand the
Because it's quiet
differences.
period. It just started. So just so
Correct.
everyone
Yeah.
knows.
The quiet period just started, but I do want you to understand the distinct differences between the two, because I think it may help our listeners and viewers understand the quiet period even more. So the dead period is exactly kind of what it means, right? So there's really no point in the year where they can't communicate with you via phone. You know what I mean? Calling, text message. They kind of did away with that a long time ago because there was no way to regulate it. So they can always communicate with you via phone, text message or whatever the calls, whatever the case may be. The dead period means you cannot go to them. So you cannot do anything on campus with them, and they cannot come to you. That's what a dead period means. So it's basically no in-person contact at all during a dead period. Okay. And usually you see it around the holidays and certain parts of the year where everybody just needs to take a break from, traveling, seeing each other in person. Okay. The difference between that and the quiet period is during the quiet period, you can go to them. So it has to be on their campus. Any kind of face-to-face and any kind of recruiting contact needs to be on campus. They cannot come to you during this time of year, in your school and things like that, like they did the period we just finished, where you saw a lot of coaches going through the school and taking pictures and seeing kids and things like that. So you have to go to them, okay? And from a director standpoint, this is a huge time of year to really you do everything in your arsenal really to get kids on your campus, whether it's junior days, whether it's I'm not even I don't count the virtual visits because you're not actually on the campus in person, but
Right. Yeah.
but you're trying to get them. You're trying to it's specifically junior days, but you're also starting to push camps at this time and things like that. You try to get them. You try to get them to come to an unofficial visit to a home basketball game. Things like that. Any reason you can find to get them on your campus, that's what you're trying to do. Not only with the top guys on your board, younger guys. Okay. Again, we've done podcasts on this about junior days, but they're not just for juniors. Okay. Junior days, you'll see 27s, 28s that are priority for those guys get invited, because during the quiet period, they know that's the best way to get them in front of them and to have a face-to-face conversation with them. Okay. So again, from the coaching point perspective, this is a big part of the year, okay, because they don't have to worry about scheduling their travel, making sure they can get to every kid, bouncing around the country, going to this school, going to that school, or their recruiting area,
Yeah.
which we've talked a lot about in the past. The area coaches are focused on their area, And I'm trying to tie all this together. We just did a big podcast on area coaches and who they are and what they do. This is when the area coach is trying to get all those guys that he discovered, while he was out at all those different schools in his area. This is when he's trying to get them to campus at all grade levels, juniors, sophomores, all the underclassmen that he feels like are recruitable. He's doing everything he can to get them on campus in some form or fashion. Okay, again, whether it's a junior day or they may have just a recruiting weekend where they make it available for you to come on campus and go to a basketball game. Baseball's cranking up now. They'll have kids on campus, go to baseball games, things like that. So it's not talked about as much. Like, you'll hear a lot about junior days and things like that, but they don't know the reason why there's a lot of junior days sometimes during this time frame. It's because it's during a quiet period and they can't come to you. And it's also not a dead period where that shuts all in person down. It's right in the middle, but they have to get you on their campus.
Right. And so, like, from their perspective, right, they're trying to sell players to get to campus, right? But for potentially you watching this, if you're trying to level up to, if you're an NAI or D2 grade and you're trying to level up to FCS, this is an opportunity that you can now get in front of these coaches. They can get to know you. You could sell yourself. And so this is why reaching out to coaches all year round is so critical, to set yourself up so that if you found an area coach, if you did the outreach, now they know who you are. This is when they're going to start inviting you in, right? And if you're sitting there right now and you have 5 invites instead of 50 invites, then that's on you, right? That's why we preach so much and talk so much about doing outreach and consistently reaching out to coaches on email and X and posting consistently and tagging these coaches and following them and getting them to follow you back and then DMing them so that they know who you are, so that they invite you at this time. Then when they invite you, now you could start working on selling yourself, getting better at that, getting in front of these coaches and proving to them why they should pick you, right? So it's good to know, like, from your perspective, it's like, how do we get the best players to our school? And if you're listening to this and you're a parent and you're a player, it's like, how do you get to go to the best schools to put your best foot forward, right? And this is that opportunity for you. And so coaches don't want to miss either. They don't want to miss on a player. So they might invite players that might not they're not ready to offer them or anything, but they're like, I don't want to miss. So this guy reached out to me. I watched his film. He's kind of borderline, but let me invite him. Let me bring him out. And so that could happen as well. But let's talk about something really important here, because a lot of players right now are getting a lot of junior day invites and camp invites. And you and I talk a lot about this, but it's important, right? Like, just because you got a junior day invite doesn't mean that they like you, right? It doesn't. It could mean your generic one. It could mean, or it could be a generic one, or it could be they love you, right? But it's on
And
you to
everywhere
figure
in
that out.
between.
Man, I was talking to a player, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm about to take a 30-hour road trip to go to a camp." And I was like, "Did you talk to the coach yet?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" But I got a camp invite. Let me see it. It was like a banner. It's like, you know what I mean? So let's talk about that a little bit, Brian. Like, just because you get a junior day invite because it's quiet period, right, does not mean that they're ready to rock and roll with you, that they're ready to offer you, that they want to move forward.
No doubt.
This
It goes back to the recruiting board, and again, we've done podcasts on this. I talked about it in the what is a committable offer, a little bit. I talked about it during that. It goes back to their board, guys. At your position, there's a lot of guys on the board at this time of year, a lot. Okay, and now it depends on your class year. Okay, but I don't care if you're 26 right now. There's a lot of guys on the board at your position right now. Okay. And so if they, to Richie's point, if they invite you to junior day, that's why I said it could be anything in between. They can be bringing you down there to offer you, or it could go all the way to the other end of the spectrum where, you're way, way on the bottom of the board, but It's no different than the NFL guys. They still need to get around you and see see if you're a good fit. Because if your tape gets a little better, or you come to camp and you do some nice things and you're able to move up the board over the course of time, now they've at least been in front of you in person, had a conversation with you, met your family, kind of see what your makeup is. Are you a good fit for their locker room and things like that? It's still a dress rehearsal, guys. But to his point, you could be way on this end of the spectrum or way on this end of the spectrum or anywhere in between. You know what I mean? But that's why the conversations with the coaches in the course of the outreach and building relationship with coaches, and the more you talk to them on the phone or the more you text with them and things like that, you can get a better feel of kind of where they are in that process in order to set up your junior day schedule. That's what we do with our guys a lot. The context matters in what kind of conversations they've had with the coach. What has he said to you? What's important to you? There's a lot of factors that go into it, and that's why we work very closely with our guys. I'll get 4 or 5 junior day invites screenshotted to me a day, 4, 5, 10 camp invites. So we can talk through them with our guys. But that's the important piece of it, because that range of how interested they are can be really, really big. So you want to be very targeted. Like Richie said, he talked to the kid, that was driving 30 hours or whatever to a camp. Well, there are people doing that for junior days too, and have never had a conversation with the coach there. They got a junior day invite because that school just wanted to get every juniors whose tape they had watched, whether they liked it or not. They just wanted to get as much buzz on campus as they could, for recruiting purposes. Okay, things like that happen, guys. It's no different than camp. Junior days are no different than camp sometimes. Some schools just want to get as many kids there, as many as they can handle. So let's just say the most they can handle is 150 kids and their families based on their facility size and things like that. They want to get 150 kids there, and they might be interested in 15 of them. But they want to put out those pictures and market it on there. We had a packed junior day, a lot of interest in our program, this, that, and other. Yes, a lot of interest in your program from kids that like you, but you don't like about 15 or 20 of them out of that 150. So there's a lot of things going on that we try very hard to help our guys, navigate those landmines like that of things that are going on and really get the most bang for their buck during the quiet period. Because again, it is an important period. You can go learn so much about a program going to their campus and going to those things. And again, we've done podcasts on junior days and how they're put together. You can go research that and why they're important. But it's just as important to go to the right ones for the right reasons, And so that's why, again, it's really important for our guys who are doing the outreach and talking to coaches. They have a lot more, success with junior days and have a lot better experience and move the needle much more because, they're targeting much better than everybody else, to just be quite honest with you.
Right. Targeting the right schools and then building out their junior day schedule and their camp schedule based on real communication and real opportunities that are going to lead to offers while they're on campus at best. Right. Not everyone, but getting an offer while you're on campus, that's great, right? And if you set up your process correctly, then that'll happen more often than not. And that's obviously what you want, right? If you're going to spend the time to go to a campus, let's turn it into an offer.
And the other thing I'll say is too, Richie, is the other piece that goes, all of this is connected, guys. The recruiting calendar is connected, right? And if you understand the recruiting calendar, the way you build on your momentum can be critical. Okay. I just had this conversation, with the kid the other day because he was enamored with, again, I've talked about it a bunch over the last couple of weeks, but, I'm a big, combine guy, draft guy, because I did it for a long time, but he's had a lot of questions about the combine and he knew about the all-star games. And I was telling him how guys, that make a lot of money, and one of them was one of mine that I had. He went to the Senior Bowl, had a great week at the Senior Bowl. Then he capitalized on it. He went to the combine, did really well. Then he went to, did the interviews at the NFL club office, and stuff like that. And he just stacked them together. High school recruiting is no different. Okay. You play good in the season, right? You do your outreach, you hammer your outreach, you find coaches, you talk to coaches, you build relationships with them after the season. They come to your school right before Christmas, right after Christmas, in those windows in the contact period. They come to your schools. Now you get to see them face to face, build more of a relationship with them. Now the quiet period comes. Now you can go to them and keep building on that relationship, the right ones, to keep moving the needle. Now they feel really good about you as a person. Well, what's coming next? Now the spring evaluation period is coming up where they can come back to you and come back to your school and watch you practice and watch you run track and do all those physical things in person, right? And then what comes after that? Now they want you to come to camp and really coach you their self, football specific, at your position, or run you on their clock. All that ties together, guys. And that's what we teach our guys. All that ties together. And you can build so much momentum if you do that correctly and you do it with the right schools that have real interest, that you have real relationships with those coaches. That's how you stack it together. That's how you stack it together.
Yeah. That's how you stack it together. No, I
It is.
like it. It's good. No, it's really true. And tying it back to, the purpose of this podcast was, we got a question, hey, like quiet periods coming up, do we still do outreach? And a lot of people, just because of the word quiet period, don't
Yeah.
even know that they could
Yeah.
do outreach. And this is like one of the best times because they're not on the road. They're not traveling, right? Also, if you go on my YouTube channel, I have a video on how to walk in the front door. Just search on YouTube, my name, front door, and that video will pop up. And we've had many players walk in the front door of a school, Division I program, and walk out with an offer, right? So this is a great time to do that depending on if you're a 26, right? So we're not going to get into that in this podcast, but if you're listening and you're a 26 and you're willing to do that, depending on where you live, this is a great opportunity to do that. But to Brian's point, it always goes back to, are you marketing yourself? Are you doing the outreach? Are you connecting with coaches? And then building relationships with those coaches to get invites where they're ready to meet you, where they're excited about meeting you, where you go through the recruiting process with them, right? And it starts with doing the outreach and doing it the right way to the right schools, right? And so, we talk a lot about it on this podcast, so make sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to them. And we'll continue to post these as well as on YouTube. Brian, is there anything else that you want to share that's critical on the quiet period?
Yeah, the one thing I didn't hit on, guys, which is huge, and I'm so glad I didn't forget to say this. Yes, junior days are big. The other thing that's going on during the quiet period that is fantastic to go to is spring ball. Okay. If you have a relationship with a coach somewhere at a school and they're in spring practice and their practices are open and they're, they allow people to come see them, reach out to that coach. Say, hey, coach, when are you guys practicing? A lot of guys do it during their spring break, sometimes. When are you guys practicing during this week? I'd love to swing by, watch a practice, visit with you a little bit, before, after practice, things like that. That is huge, guys. We've got several guys that are doing that, and it's so beneficial. You get to see how the practice is set up at the college level. You get to see how he coaches his players. There's so much you can get out of that. And also it gives you another chance to get face-to-face with that coach. Okay. Right. It gives you another chance to get face-to-face with the coach. So do not forget spring practice. If they've got that going on, reach out to them, see if you can come by, go watch a spring practice, set up a meeting with the coach, get face-to-face with him before or after practice. And that's another piece of the puzzle during the quiet period, that you can go to them and learn a lot about their program and get a better feel for the coach, as well as him getting a better feel for you, and to continue to build that relationship.
That's such a good point. And Brian, I always talk about the ability to sell yourself, but anytime you can get in a face-to-face interaction, sell yourself and ask these coaches really good questions to show that you're smart, you care, and how you could potentially help the team win. Like, you want to do that over and over and over and over again. So that's a great opportunity to do that. So Brian, I really, really am glad you brought that up. Anything else that you'd like to share before we rock and roll?
No, that's it. Quiet period's a big deal, guys. Just make sure you're doing it the right way and targeting it the right way, and it can really help you. And again, it doesn't mean that they can't reach out to you. Communication's still open. Again, it just means you have to go to them on campus. They cannot come to you. That's
And
the
you do
nuts and
not
bolts.
stop. This is actually the best time to do your outreach, right? On X, on email, following coaches, the whole omnipresent approach that we teach. This is the best time to do it. So absolutely double down on your outreach and your marketing efforts. And if you got value from this podcast and you'd like to watch more podcasts, just make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you're on YouTube. And one thing that'll really help us is, wherever you listen to your podcast, if it allows you to leave a review, please leave us a review and put your questions in that review. Brian and I look through those, and that's how we come up with topics for these podcasts. And we want to continue to make it better and better for you. And if you want to watch more videos on trainings we do on how to earn a scholarship, then make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Only 21% of our listeners are actually subscribers, so make sure to do that. We post 3 videos every single week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So I look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.